Imagine waking up knowing your freedom is gone. You don't travel safely. You don't work freely. You don't fight back. For 20 years, Israel lived like that. 900 iron chariots enforced the fear. Israel was being crushed. Israel was being crushed. For 20 years, King Jabin of Canaan had held the people of God in an iron grip. His general, a man named Sisera, commanded 900 chariots fitted with iron, cutting-edge military technology that turned every battle into a massacre. Israelite farmers couldn't work their fields. Travelers had to take back roads to avoid Canaanite patrols. Fear soaked into everything. The people cried out to God, and God answered with someone they didn't expect. Her name was Deborah. She was a prophet, a judge, and a wife. People came from all over Israel to sit under a palm tree where she held court, settling disputes and delivering messages from the Lord. In a time when most women had no public voice, Deborah spoke with the authority of heaven. She was the only woman in Israel's entire history to hold the office of judge, and she didn't lead through a husband or father or son. She led in her own right, with her own name, by her own calling. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't apologize. She simply led. One day, Deborah sent for a man named Barak, a military commander from the northern tribe of Naphtali. When he arrived, she looked him in the eye, steady, unwavering, the weight of divine authority resting in her voice, and delivered a direct command from God. The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you. Go, take 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them to Mount Tabor. I will lure Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, to the Kishon River with all his chariots and troops, and I will give him into your hands. It was a clear word, a direct order, a promise of victory. But Barak hesitated. I'll go, he said, but only if you come with me. If you don't go, I won't go either. It wasn't cowardice exactly. It was something more complicated. Maybe he didn't trust himself to hear God clearly in the chaos of battle. Maybe he needed the assurance that the prophet would be there when things got desperate. Or maybe, deep down, he simply didn't want to lead alone. Deborah didn't flinch. I'll go with you, she said. But because of the way you're doing this, the honor won't be yours. The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman. Barak agreed. And so Deborah, a prophet with no armor and no sword, went to war. They gathered the army at Mount Tabor, 10,000 men from the northern tribes, farmers and shepherds, who had spent 2 decades under the boot of an occupying force. Men who knew how to swing a sickle but not a sword. Men who had watched their children grow up afraid. And now, standing on that mountain, they felt something they hadn't felt in 20 years. Hope. Dangerous, terrifying hope. Below them in the valley, the Kishon River wound through the plain. It was the dry season. The riverbed was mostly dust and stones. Word reached Sisera that Barak had mobilized. The general didn't waste time. He assembled his entire force, 900 iron chariots and thousands of trained soldiers, and moved toward the river. The ground trembled under the weight of the chariots. The sunlight glinted off iron and bronze. It looked unstoppable. Up on Mount Tabor, Deborah turned to Barak. Go. This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. The Lord is going ahead of you. Barak gave the signal. 10,000 men charged down the mountain, and then God stepped in. The sky opened. Rain poured down in sheets, sudden and violent. The Kishon River, dry moments before, began to swell. The valley floor turned to thick, clinging mud. The iron chariots, Sisera's greatest weapon, became his trap. Wheels sank. Horses panicked. Soldiers tried to push the chariots free, but the mud sucked them down deeper. God's weapons didn't look like the world's weapons. Rain. Mud. A swollen river. things no army could plan for or defend against. Barak's men hit them like a hammer. It was chaos. Canaanite soldiers abandoned their chariots and ran. Sisera, the feared general who had terrorized Israel for 2 decades, jumped off his chariot and fled on foot. His army was destroyed behind him, cut down by the sword, drowned in the rising river, swallowed by the mud. Barak and his men pursued the remnants of the army all the way back to Harosheth Hagoyim. Not a single Canaanite soldier survived, but Sisera was still running. He made it miles away from the battlefield, exhausted and desperate, until he came to the tent of a woman named Jael. She was the wife of Heber the Kenite, a clan that had ties to both Israel and Canaan. Sisera knew this. He thought he'd be safe there. Jael stepped out of her tent. "Come in, my lord," she said. "Don't be afraid." Sisera stumbled inside. She covered him with a blanket. He asked for water. She gave him milk instead, something warmer, more comforting. He began to relax. "Stand at the entrance of the tent," he told her. "If anyone comes and asks if there's a man here, say no." Then he lay down, and he fell asleep. Jael stood there for a moment, looking at the man who had brought so much suffering to her people. She picked up a tent peg and a hammer, tools she used every day to set up her home, ordinary instruments in her calloused hands. Her heartbeat was steady. The choice crystallized in the space of a single breath. And then, with one swift, decisive blow, she drove the peg through his temple and into the ground. Sisera, the commander of 900 chariots, the terror of Israel, was dead, killed by a woman with a tent peg. Jael stood in the silence that followed, the weight of what she'd done settling over her, relief, resolve, the knowledge that sometimes God calls ordinary people to do extraordinary things in a single, irreversible moment. When Barak arrived, still hunting for Sisera, Jael stepped out to meet him. "Come," she said. "I'll show you the man you're looking for." Barak stepped into the tent and saw Sisera lying there, the tent peg driven through his skull. The prophecy Deborah had spoken was fulfilled. The victory didn't belong to Barak. It belonged to a woman. 2 women, in fact, Deborah, who spoke the word of the Lord, and Jael, who finished what God had started. That day, Israel broke the power of King Jabin, and in the days that followed, Deborah and Barak sang a song. It wasn't a quiet hymn. It was a victory shout, a celebration of what God had done. Deborah sang of the warriors who volunteered, the tribes who showed up, and the ones who stayed home. She sang of the stars fighting from heaven, of the river sweeping the enemy away, of Jael striking the final blow. She sang, "So may all your enemies perish, Lord, but may all who love you be like the sun when it rises in its strength." And after 20 years of oppression, the land had peace. For 40 years, Israel rested. Travelers walked freely on the main roads again. Farmers worked their fields without looking over their shoulders. Children grew up without the shadow of fear. This story doesn't need much explanation. It explains itself. Deborah didn't wait for someone else to lead. She stepped into the role God gave her and spoke with clarity and courage. Barak needed her presence to move forward, and that's okay. Sometimes we all need someone to walk with us into the hard things. And Jael, an ordinary woman doing ordinary work, became part of a victory she never saw coming. God used all of them. The prophet, the reluctant commander, the woman with a tent peg. None of them were perfect, but all of them were willing, and that was enough. If you want more stories like this, real cinematic retellings of the Bible that help you see these ancient events come to life, hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to discover. Thanks for watching.